Hi everyone, welcome to my first ever PoliticAL update. I am Alexandra Acker-Lyons. I go by Al. See what I did there with the name? And today is April 25th, 2025. These are going to be quick hit political updates with news and gossip from the week. Probably only about 5 to 10 minutes. I'll try to keep it funny, let you know what I'm hearing through my role as a donor advisor working with primarily female donors across the country on Democratic politics, the progressive infrastructure, candidates running for office up and down the ballot, and more. So, who am I? I am the founder of a consulting firm called AL Advising. I am a mom of a human boy and two little fur baby dogs. Live here in Denver with my family, and I'm a big political nerd. I follow all the news so that you don't have to. I read all the tip sheets, I read all the blogs, I listen to all the podcasts, I read all the books, as you can see. So I would love your feedback on what I'm trying to do here and whether you find this helpful. The big news this week came out of Illinois, where, as anticipated, Senator Dick Durbin announced his retirement. This sets up not only an open seat for the Senate in Illinois, but also a leadership battle, as Durbin is the number 2 in the Senate behind Senator Schumer. Already, we've seen Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton jump into that race. She has the support of Governor J.B. Pritzker. We'll see if that support translates into some money from his vast fortune, and if that looks like an independent expenditure on her behalf, or just his endorsement. We're also expecting Reps Lauren Underwood, Robin Kelly, Delia Ramirez, and Raja Krishnamurthy to take a close look at that Senate race as well. Maybe some others at the state level jumping in. This is a safe blue seat, and the primary is the battle. So we expect there to be a lot of Democrats jumping in Illinois. Also in Michigan, Congresswoman Haley Stevens jumped into the open Senate seat there, joining State Senator Mallory McMorrow and former gubernatorial candidate Abdul El-Sayed. We're also hearing that former Speaker Joe Tate may jump in. And this is another race where we have multiple women running, multiple people of color running. This is the new normal in Democratic politics. It's what we want to see. And I know that donors sometimes get nervous about competitive primaries, but I think they help make our candidates better. So back several candidates, jump in all aboard for one. We want to make sure we have the best people running and that we're supporting them early. In New Hampshire, Senator Jeanne Shaheen endorsed Congressman Chris Pappas this week, so we expect that to mean that he has cleared the field. We don't expect any other candidates to be jumping in there. Depending on who runs in the general election, this may or may not be competitive. New Hampshire is kind of a state where they've had some pretty close single digit, 1 or 2 point elections in recent cycles. We're obviously waiting for more announcements coming out of places like Minnesota, Maine, North Carolina, and then really waiting to see whether or not Governor Brian Kemp jumps in Georgia to challenge Jon Ossoff. That will be a battle royale no matter what, but Brian Kemp is really seen as the Republicans' top recruit this cycle, and he's been taking meetings in D.C. So fingers crossed that he doesn't run, but we'll be ready if he does. On the House side last week, we got news that Republican incumbents have actually outraised Democratic incumbents. And this is counter to the trend that we've seen during the Trump era, where Democrats have really been at a cash advantage in their races, with the Republican super PACs kind of having to come to the rescue of their candidates. I think some of this may just be some donor fatigue. Some of it may be frustration with kind of leadership in Washington in general. But we do have a number of Democratic incumbents in really tough races. We're going to need to retain every single one of them if we want to take back the House. So we'll have more coming on that coming down the road. But also a big shout out to the Down Ballot podcast and Substack, who put out their presidential election results by congressional district data this week. That is really important data for us to have. It's really hard for them to compile. Highly recommend subscribing to their Substack, and I listen to the podcast every week. They go into detail about how they compiled all that data on the podcast this week. It's really interesting if you want to give it a listen. On the gubernatorial front, everyone is really focused on Virginia. That is obviously seen as a bellwether for the 2026 election cycle. But I am also really paying attention to New Jersey, and not only because I kind of grew up in New York, right on the border of New Jersey, but because this is a state that really likes to elect Republican governors and likes to flip back and forth. So I think the New Jersey race could be closer than people think. It is the state that moved furthest to the right in 2024 after New York. Saw a lot of voters voting for Trump, but then continuing to vote for Democrats down ballot. We'll see if that ticket splitting continues. I'm supporting Mikey Sherrill in that primary, but whoever comes out of that primary is going to need resources in the fall, so put that one on your radar. We got some sort of good news in Arizona this week where President Trump endorsed Congressman Andy Biggs, even though he had already endorsed a candidate in the gubernatorial primary in Arizona, Karen Taylor Robinson, who lost to Kari Lake in the 2022 primary. So this means that Republicans are going to battle it out until their quite late primary, August 4th. And that is good news for Governor Katie Hobbs, who is going to have probably the closest reelection race of any governor in the country in 2026. We'll expect more news on the gubernatorial front as state legislative sessions wind down. Governors Tim Walz in Minnesota and Tony Evers in Wisconsin are both likely to run for another term, but have indicated that they're not going to make a decision until early this summer. And we'll continue to keep you posted as we learn more. In down ballot news, my friend Amanda Littman, co-founder of Run for Something, is out with her new book, When We're in Charge, which talks a lot about changes in leadership styles and what it means when we elect more millennials and Gen Z to office. This is something that I've worked on my entire career, is helping more young people get elected to office. So encourage you to get Amanda's book. And obviously this is something that we've been seeing not only at the federal level with some frustrations with elected leadership at the Senate and House level. It is certainly partly a generational fight. I think it's also kind of a longevity of service fight. The longer you've been there, the little bit more of an institutionalist you may be. And have heard rumblings from some folks about primarying Democrats in safe seats. Again, I welcome primaries. I think they make us stronger candidates. It can cause some consternation, not only with donors, but the chattering class and the consultant class. But I think we are due for some changes in leadership at all levels. And I look forward to being able to talk about some exciting rising stars. Again, this is my first attempt at this. I would love your feedback on our PoliticAL updates going forward, and hope you will continue to tune in and subscribe. Thanks so much.